Guadalcanal, October 12, 1942. Before dawn. Henderson Field. The jungle was still. Too still. A thin mist curled between the palm trees as the first hints of morning crept over the horizon. American Marines moved quietly through the mud, their boots sinking into the damp soil. In the distance, a dim orange glow lingered where the Japanese artillery had struck the night before. Corporal James Halpern, 1st Marine Division, knelt behind a shattered coconut log. His hands trembled. Not from fear, but from instinct. Something was watching them. A single shot cracked through the silence. Sharp. Precise. A sound that froze the entire line. A Marine dropped instantly. No scream, no warning. Then another. A phantom hidden somewhere in the trees had just announced his presence. And for the next 48 hours, one Japanese sniper would hold an entire Marine regiment hostage, altering the course of the Pacific Campaign. The Guadalcanal Campaign, launched on August 7, 1942, marked the first major Allied offensive against Japan. A fight for a single airstrip, Henderson Field, became a struggle for control of the entire South Pacific. If the Japanese reclaimed the island, they would threaten supply lines stretching from Hawaii to Australia. If the Americans held it, Japan's southern expansion would begin to crumble. The stakes were enormous. By October, both sides were exhausted. Malaria. Hunger. Heat. More Marines died from disease than bullets. But the Japanese still held one final advantage. Their snipers. Trained in the dense forests of Japan and Manchuria, many were experts at camouflage, patience, and precision. Some crews documented kill ratios unmatched by any other force of the war. Among them was a man rarely mentioned in Western accounts. Sergeant Toshio Nakamura, 2nd Infantry Regiment. A hunter from Hokkaido. A marksman known for waiting. And waiting. And waiting. His mission on Guadalcanal was simple. Disrupt American movements, break morale, and prepare the battlefield for the next major Japanese assault. But on that morning of October 12, he would do far more than that. From the moment the 1st Marine fell, the pattern became clear. Every time a soldier lifted his head, even slightly, a shot rang out. Nakamura had positioned himself somewhere deep within a tangle of banyan roots and heavy vines, a place the Marines called Dead Man's Pocket. His vantage point was perfect. A natural ridge. Narrow approach. Dense cover. The ideal sniper nest. For the Marines, it was a nightmare. Patrols halted. Supplies stalled. Communication lines broke down. They could not see him. They could not flank him. They could not even identify the direction of the shots. By 10 a.m., the sniper had killed 7 men. By noon, no one dared move. Corporal Halpern watched as medics crawled through mud just to reach wounded Marines, sliding inch by inch on their bellies. A movement the sniper somehow always noticed. Each shot was deliberate. Each shot was fatal. Whispers spread through the American positions. He's a ghost. No one fires that clean. He's not missing. Not once. Command finally issued a desperate order. Neutralize the sniper at all costs. But the Japanese had planned for this. Every time Marine scouts advanced, Nakamura shifted positions, disappearing like smoke through the jungle undergrowth. The Marines were pinned in place. And the clock was working against them. Because at midnight, Japanese forces planned a major push toward Henderson Field. If the Marines remained trapped. If they could not reinforce the airstrip. If they could not move men or ammunition. The Japanese might retake Guadalcanal entirely. One sniper. One rifle. One man. Threatening the entire campaign. By late afternoon, the Marines deployed their best marksmen to sweep the ridge. Among them was Sergeant William "Red" Darby, a veteran hunter from Montana, known for reading terrain as easily as most men read a map. Darby moved slowly, breathing shallow, eyes scanning the canopy for the slightest imperfection. A broken leaf. A shadow. A glint of metal. Nothing. Then. A flicker. Not movement. Not sound. Just a subtle change in color where sunlight filtered through the trees. Darby froze. Something felt wrong. He lowered himself flat, pressing his cheek into the earth. He studied the slope ahead. And after nearly 2 minutes of stillness, he saw it. Not a helmet. Not a rifle barrel. Just the faintest outline of a human silhouette, hidden deep among the roots. Nakamura. Darby exhaled slowly. He steadied his Springfield rifle. Set his sights. Then. A sudden glint. Off his own scope. Nakamura had caught the reflection. The Japanese sniper fired first. The bullet snapped the air inches above Darby's head, slicing through a palm leaf behind him. Darby rolled. Fast. Instinctively. Mud flew as another shot hit the ground beside him. He dove behind a fallen log. 2 enemies. Both unseen to one another. Both equally skilled. Minutes passed. Each man waiting for the other to reveal the smallest mistake. Darby reached into his pack. Pulled out a small metal mirror, a trick he'd learned from old frontiersmen. He lifted it slowly on the tip of his knife. Another shot. The mirror shattered. But Darby had seen it. The barrel. A sliver of steel buried in shadow. He fired. 1 shot. Then another. Then silence. No movement. No return fire. Marines advanced cautiously toward the ridge. 20 minutes passed before Halpern reached the sniper's nest. There, curled between roots and branches, lay Sergeant Toshio Nakamura. Rifle still in hand, fingers still resting near the trigger. His camouflage was flawless. His nest nearly invisible. It took Halpern several seconds just to understand what he was seeing. This one man had held them for nearly 2 days. One man had threatened an entire division's operations. One man had almost shifted the direction of the Pacific War. The Japanese assault that night never succeeded. The Marines reinforced Henderson Field, the airstrip held, and Guadalcanal remained in American hands. A turning point that shaped the Pacific Campaign. But long after the island was secured, Marines still remembered the ghost of the Banyan Ridge. A reminder that war is not only fought by armies, but by individuals. By moments. By quiet figures hidden in shadows who, for a brief time, hold the power to change history. In the end, it was not glory or hatred that defined these men, but endurance. Skill. And the unspoken understanding shared by those who fight from opposite sides of the same unforgiving battlefield. As one Marine later wrote in his journal. He was the enemy. But he was also a soldier. And for 2 days, he held all of us in his silent grip. The jungle eventually reclaimed the ridge. Vines grew over the old sniper's nest. The war moved on. But the memory remained. A small, hidden chapter of valor and resilience in the vast story of World War II. The morning after the sniper was neutralized, the field was silent. Bodies lay where they had fallen, the mud stained dark with blood and rain. Medics moved slowly, carrying the wounded with painstaking care. Corporal Halpern walked among them, his boots leaving heavy prints in the wet earth. Each face told the same story: fear, exhaustion, disbelief. But also determination. A stubborn refusal to give in, even under invisible threats. The sniper had claimed lives. He had immobilized a division. He had almost forced the Americans to retreat. Yet, in his absence, something else became clear. The resilience of men trained to endure, to adapt, to survive. The Marines began to rebuild. Supplies moved again. Communication lines reopened. The jungle seemed less oppressive, though its shadows still whispered secrets. Guadalcanal became a turning point not because of massive fleets or grand strategies alone, but because of small, decisive moments. Because one sniper could shake a regiment, and one small group of Marines could respond with courage, ingenuity, and relentless focus. Historians later noted that these individual encounters shaped broader strategies. Every patrol, every reconnaissance mission, every jungle advance carried lessons of patience, observation, and respect for the unseen enemy. Sergeant Toshio Nakamura's actions, though ultimately failing to change the outcome, left a mark on those who survived. They reminded the Marines that war was as much about mental endurance as it was about firepower. Even decades later, the veteran spoke quietly of the ghost of the Banyan Ridge. A symbol of how one skilled, determined individual could test the limits of an entire force. The jungle slowly reclaimed the scars of war. Vines wrapped around shattered logs. Coconuts fell where soldiers once crouched. Birdsong returned to the morning mist. Corporal Halpern, now decades older, would later write, "I never knew his name. We never spoke. But for 2 days, he held us in his hands, invisible yet undeniable. In that silence, I learned what courage truly means." Guadalcanal stood. The Pacific campaign continued. But in the shadows of the banyan trees, the memory of one silent sniper and the men he tested endured. A small, quiet testament to valor, resilience, and the human cost of war.